Overseer Basil Seymour Gilmore.
Overseer Gilmore has given 35 years of service to the Department of Correctional Services, receiving an award for meritorious service this morning.
Overseer Howard Bernard Henderson. Overseer Derek Anthony
Howard
Hunter.
Henderson. Overseer Hunter, another member of the Department of Correctional Services, who has given 32 years of service.
Overseer Paris St. Patrick Lawrence.
Overseer Lawrence has given 39 years of service to the Department of Correctional Services.
Overseer Eileen Carroll Officer.
Overseer Eileen Officer, 35 years of service to the Correctional Services Department.
Overseer Horace Lee Thompson.
Horace Lee Thompson, another member of the Department of Correctional Services, was given many years of service, 39 years, in fact.
We continue with the Department of Correctional Services. Staff Officer Wayne St. Patrick Brown, Staff Officer Michael Anthony Byfield, Staff Officer Alfred Kenneth Calder, Staff Officer Desmond Washington Chambers, Staff Officer Roderick George Ferguson, Staff Officer Desmond Alfonso Henry. Staff Officer Wayne St. Patrick Brown.
Staff Officer Wayne Brown, receiving an award for 34 years of service to the Department of Correctional Services.
Staff Officer Michael Anthony Byfield.
Staff Officer Byfield, 31 years of service, receiving a medal this morning.
Staff Officer Alfred Kenneth Calder.
Medal of Honor also for Staff Officer Alfred Calder, who was given 30 years of service to the Correctional Services Department.
Staff Officer Desmond Washington Chambers.
Desmond Chambers has given 32 years of service.
Staff Officer Roderick George Ferguson.
35 years of service from Staff Officer Roderick Ferguson.
Staff Officer Desmond Alfonso Henry.
Desmond Henry, another member of the Department of Correctional Services, who has given more than 30 years of service.
Final group from the Correctional Services, Staff Officer Sidney Garfield Van Hertz, Staff Officer Angela Marie Morris, and Staff Officer George Patrick War.
These are the final three members of the Department of Correctional Services who will be receiving their medals of honor for meritorious service.
Staff Officer Sidney Manhurst.
Staff Officer Sidney Manhurst, with 35 years of service, receiving his award.
Staff Officer Angela Marie Morris.
Staff Officer Angela Morris, 26 years of service to her credit, receiving congratulations from the Governor General.
Staff Officer George Patrick Wall.
Staff Officer George Wall, having given 32 years of service to the Correctional Services Department, receiving his medal for meritorious service.
And now the Jamaica Fire Brigade for their medals for meritorious service. Superintendent Gary Anthony Morgan. Superintendent Morgan is unable to be present this morning. Deputy Superintendent Ron O'Neill Powell, Assistant Superintendent Ronald David Blissett, Assistant Superintendent William Alexander Dixon, Assistant Superintendent Garnet Alton Dowse, Assistant Superintendent Damian Carl Johnson, Assistant Superintendent Royal Enix Knight, Assistant Superintendent Wade Alistair McDermott, Assistant Superintendent Donovan McLaren. Assistant Superintendent McLaren is unable to be present this morning. Assistant Superintendent Everett Claude Montague.
The first group of members from the Jamaica Fire Brigade who are here to receive their Medal of Honor for meritorious service.
Deputy Superintendent Ron O'Neill Powell.
Deputy Superintendent Powell has served the Jamaica Fire Brigade for 23 years.
Assistant Superintendent Ronald David Blissett.
Assistant Superintendent Blissett, 24 years of service to the Jamaica Fire Brigade.
All right. Thank you for listening to your family station, Love 101. And right now, as we continue to recognize our national heroes and those who are receiving national awards today, I have with me online Dr. Nadine Blair. Nadine, can you hear?
Hi, good morning. How are you? I think I'm hearing the video a little bit, but I hope you're hearing me.
Garnet Dowse, 26 years of service to the Jamaica Fire Brigade.
It's live. Can you hear us, Nadine? We're
Yes.
listening to the National Awards live.
Assistant Superintendent Damian Carl Johnson.
Assistant Superintendent Johnson, 27 years of service to the Fire Brigade.
Assistant Superintendent Warrell Enix Knight.
Another member of the Jamaica Fire Brigade being recognized for 27 years of service, Assistant Superintendent Warrell Knight.
Assistant Superintendent Wade Alistair McDermott.
Assistant Superintendent McDermott being recognized for 25 years of service to the Jamaica Fire Brigade.
Assistant Superintendent Everett Claude Montague.
Assistant Superintendent Everett Montague, 26 years of service as well.
Assistant Superintendent Anton Anthony Neal. Assistant Superintendent Michael Roy Patterson. Assistant Superintendent Sandy Teresa Shaw Dawson. Assistant Superintendent Michael George Tomlinson, District Officer Mavita Cheryl Bailey Hall, District Officer Glanville Anthony Blake, and District Officer Paul Roosevelt Blair.
The second group of members from the Jamaica Fire Brigade. And the Jamaica Fire Brigade is the final group of uniformed personnel who will be
Assistant
receiving awards
Superintendent
this morning.
Anton Anthony Neal.
Assistant Superintendent Neil here receiving his award for 26 years of service.
Assistant Superintendent Michael Roy Patterson.
Assistant Superintendent Patterson, celebrated for 25 years of service to the Jamaica Fire Brigade.
Assistant Superintendent Sandy Teresa Shaw Dawson.
Assistant Superintendent Sandy Shaw Dawson, 27 years of service to the Jamaica Fire Brigade.
Assistant Superintendent Michael George Tomlinson.
Assistant Superintendent Michael Tomlinson, receiving his award for 26 years of service to the Fire Brigade.
District Officer Mavita Cheryl Bailey Hall.
District Officer Mavita Bailey Hall, 27 years of service.
District Officer Glanville Anthony Blake.
For his 32 years of service, District Officer Glanville Blake receives his Medal of Honor for meritorious service.
District Officer Paul Roosevelt Blair.
District Officer Blair, 27 years of service to the Jamaica Fire Brigade.
District Officer Dervin Elijah Brown, District Officer Anne-Marie Cope, District Officer Philip Roger Grindley, District Officer Junior Anthony Harris, District Officer Aston Junior Nelson, District Officer Howard Satarvin Nemhard, District Officer Allison Andrea Richards, District Officer Garrett St. Aubin Hall Russell. District Officer Russell is unable to be present this morning.
We're almost at the end of these awards, the National Honors and Awards 2022, the ceremony of investiture and presentation here at King's House.
District Officer Dervin Elijah Brown.
District Officer Dervin Brown, for his 32 years of service to the Jamaica Fire Brigade, receiving his Medal of Honor.
District Officer Anne-Marie Cope.
District Officer Cope, for 27 years of service.
District Officer Philip Roger Grindley.
District Officer Philip Grindley, receiving an award for 32 years of service.
District Officer Junior Anthony Harris.
District Officer Junior Harris, with 27 years of service under his belt, receiving his Medal of Honor.
District Officer Aston Junior Nelson.
District Officer Aston Nelson, receiving an award for his 26 years of service.
District Officer Howard Satarvin Nemhard.
District Officer Nemhard, 32 years of service to the Jamaica Fire Brigade.
District Officer Allison Andrea Richards.
District Officer Allison Andrea Richards, 27 years of service.
Thank you, Your Excellency. Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes the presentation of the 2022 National Honors and Awards Ceremony of Investiture. Please stand for the singing of the national anthem.
Justice, truth be ours forever. Jamaica, land we love. Jamaica, 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 land we love. Teach us true respect.